Hi, good morning, fellow Americans, ladies and gentlemen. This is Anthony Ezra de Martinez, publisher and editor-in-chief of La Parentela Hispano de la Sierra del Sangre de Cristo Publishing. You can check out my website, La Parentela del Sangre de Cristo.wordpress.com, or my podcast, the Anthony Ezra de Martinez Podcast. So this morning, I am sharing this video with you. This news report from the Epoch Times. They have a very disturbing and but a true and it should be, this is something that is very, despicable and disgusting, quite frankly. And for those of us who live in New Mexico, it should be extremely concerning to us, because this is not only about an abortion clinic, which, that in and of itself is very concerning and should be to all Americans, because the bottom line is that millions of American babies, preborn babies, are being murdered, every year through this evil and what many of us have always considered to be the satanic system of abortion. Okay, so this report is about about both of those horrible and shameful and despicable and cowardly realities, and that is abortion clinics. This is specifically about a satanic abortion clinic. I know it sounds unbelievable, but it is true, ladies and gentlemen. Very sad to say, but and we need to, the American people, and especially all Americans who consider themselves Christians and people, citizens of New Mexico also, it's a shame that in our state that a satanic abortion clinic even is allowed to be, in business, murdering innocent preborn babies. What a shame. We need to let our state legislature in New Mexico, we need to let our governor in New Mexico know that we, the people of New Mexico, we the Christian people of New Mexico and Catholic people, and all taxpayers of New Mexico, we and citizens, we are offended by this. We find this to be reprehensible and disgusting and shameful, quite frankly. And here's the report, okay? Thank you.
One of the largest women's magazines here in America and across the whole world is Cosmopolitan. Cosmo is published in 35 different languages, and it's distributed in nearly 100 countries around the whole globe. And if you've spent any time standing at a checkout aisle in a supermarket within the last 30 years, well, you've probably seen one of their magazines, which is primarily aimed at women aged 18 to 34. However, something very odd happened about 6 weeks ago. The people who happen to follow Cosmo magazine on social media, they were treated to this post right here, explaining the details of how a quote-unquote satanic abortion ceremony actually works. Let me read to you a quick tidbit on what this social media post said. And as you're listening to me read this, keep in mind that this social media post is not from some fringe part of the internet. This was a post from the most mainstream women's magazine in this country. Here's what it said, quote, "So how does a satanic abortion ceremony even work? Patients of all faiths are welcome at Samuel Alito's mom's satanic abortion clinic in New Mexico. Along with medical counsel, TST, which stands for the Satanic Temple, offers free ceremonial support to everyone. Abortion ceremonies are totally optional and customizable. Here's a simple one that the Satanic Temple recommends." The post then goes on to have several pages explaining how to conduct one of these satanic abortion rituals, with each one of these pages having at the top of it an upside down cross. Here's what it says, quote, "First, find a quiet space. Bring a mirror if you can. Just before taking the medication, gaze at your reflection and on your personhood. Home in on your intent, your responsibility to you. take a few deep, relaxing breaths. The instructions then go on to say how the individual should read some tenets out loud about how their body is subject to their will alone. Then they take the abortion pills before reciting another set of tenets, pledging their belief in science. Then, after the woman expels the dead fetus, the instructions tell her to return to staring at her own reflection in the mirror and to recite the final affirmation, which I don't want to repeat, but you can read it up on your screen if you so wish. This social media post then urges people to go to an actual full-length article over on Cosmos' website, which details the experience of an anonymous 37-year-old woman who conducted one of these satanic rituals herself. Now again, if this post and this article were found just on some fringe part of the internet, this would not even be worth discussing. I would not read aloud to you any of this. But this is not from some fringe part of the internet. As I mentioned earlier, this was found in the largest women's magazine here in America. And so, let's expose what's really going on here, starting with a bit of background, right after you take a super quick moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons so that this information can reach ever more people via the YouTube algorithm. Now, what's come to be known as a satanic abortion ritual is actually the product of an organization called the Satanic Temple. This is a non-theistic religion that was officially registered with the U.S. government about 10 years ago and is now recognized as a tax-exempt religious organization with the IRS. And just as a fun fact, they have their headquarters based out of Salem, Massachusetts, of all places. And this quote-unquote religion, despite its name being Satanism, claims to not truly believe that Satan exists. Instead, according to Ms. Shalise Blythe, who is the Satanic Temple spokesperson for reproductive rights, she claims that the temple treats Satan as something akin to a mascot who represents rebellion, personal sovereignty, as well as resistance. Now, if this view of theirs reminds you of that very famous quote from Charles Baudelaire, that Satan's greatest trick was persuading the world that he doesn't exist, well, perhaps the members of this temple got tricked the hardest of all. Regardless, in advancing one of their main tenets, which is complete personal liberation, the Satanic Temple created something called the Satanic Abortion Ritual. This was the ritual that we just read about in the pages of Cosmo magazine, and the reason for its creation appears to be so that the Satanic Temple can give women a religious loophole to conduct abortions. Because if a woman happens to live in a state here in America where abortions are either partially or completely outlawed, well, she can now claim affiliation with the temple and make the argument that this abortion of hers is actually part of her religion. Now, the Satanic Temple organization set up their first online abortion clinic over in the state of New Mexico. They chose New Mexico for several different reasons. Firstly, they already had a fairly large contingent of members in the state, about 3,300 members. And second of all, New Mexico was the easiest state to set up this clinic because it's considered an abortion rights stronghold. New Mexico has no laws dictating time limits in abortions. There's no age restrictions. There's no waiting periods. And perhaps most important of all, it's legal to prescribe abortion pills to someone remotely and then have those pills mailed to their homes as long as they live within the borders of the state. They named this online quote-unquote clinic Sam Alito's Mom's Satanic Abortion Clinic as a reference to Supreme Court Justice Sam Alito, who is both a devout Catholic as well as the author of the Supreme Court opinion which ultimately overturned Roe v. Wade. And so this online clinic allows anyone living within the borders of New Mexico who's over the age of 17 to conduct a virtual chat and then to order their abortion pills directly to their doorstep via the internet. Now, for legal purposes, the only real requirement is that the quote-unquote client must admit to having an interest in performing a satanic abortion in order to be considered a practicing member of the religion and therefore to receive this legal loophole and the benefits that it entails. But here's the thing. As I mentioned earlier, New Mexico already has some of the most lenient abortion laws in the whole country. And so this satanic abortion clinic is not really legally necessary for the people living in that state. Instead, this New Mexico location is more like a proof of concept, a concept that the Satanic Temple is working to expand to the rest of the country. In fact, along that line, the Satanic Temple has now filed lawsuits against the states of Indiana, Idaho, Missouri, as well as Texas, arguing that those states' abortion laws violate the rights of Satanic Temple members. Essentially, the Satanic Temple is using several of the recent Supreme Court rulings in favor of religious freedom, such as the Christian baker's right to not bake a cake for a gay couple. They're using these precedents to make the argument that these laws, quote, restricting members' access to abortion infringes on their religious right to participate in our satanic abortion ritual. However, in a practical sense, these lawsuits have been getting dismissed in their respective courtrooms one after another due to a lack of standing. They've been dismissed in Indiana, in Texas, as well as in Missouri.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And for all the people in New Mexico, you know, this is extremely disturbing that here in our state that this satanic abortion clinic is even allowed to function. I think it's disgusting. We're murdering innocent babies. We're murdering. We're not but we're allowing these very evil and sick people to murder innocent American babies. That needs to stop. I urge and I encourage all New Mexicans to, call the governor's office, call the New Mexico State Legislature, let them know that you find this to be disgusting, that you find these satanic clinics, abortion clinics, including the one in New Mexico, to be a crime against humanity, quite frankly. Tell them to shut down that satanic clinic in New Mexico. And if you're a voter, find out, first of all, it's time for the people in New Mexico, the Hispanic people especially, if you consider yourself Christian and Catholic, you need to vote your conscience. And you already know that the Democrat Party, their number one platform policy that they support is to make abortion and to keep abortion as easy as possible. In other words, they want it to be possible to murder preborn babies. They want that to be easy, and you know why? Because their evil master, who is that evil coward named Satan, he wants abortions so that innocent preborn babies can be murdered and not have the right to life, not to have their lives that Almighty God has blessed them with. So do not vote Democrat. That's my point. If you're a Christian, a Catholic, a Jew, if you believe that human life is precious and is a gift from Almighty God, then vote Republican. Vote for President Trump. Vote for J.D. Vance for vice president. Vote for, vote Republican across the board. Let's send a message. And not just a message. Let's make some good changes happen. And let's close these abortion loopholes. Let's make abortion be something that is, only in very rare cases, if even at all, and here in New Mexico in particular, we need to make New Mexico State where abortions are very rare to be able to get. It's a shame that New Mexico is being used by the abortion industry in this way. But ultimately, it's, remember, if you vote for the candidates who want abortion, if you vote for members of the legislature, if you vote for a governor that's going to support abortion being super easy, so easy that even a satanic group now has an abortion clinic in New Mexico, then remember, you have the murders of these babies on your hands, and Almighty God will hold you accountable. Okay? So, you take care. Thank you all. And God bless you all. God bless all of us. And God bless America.